Awesome. So it's now being recorded. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. Let me start sharing the screen so we can start with the agenda and introduction to ourselves. Just a second. All right, so this one. Wait. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now. Let me know in the chat section if you can see it straight away, if everything is good. Can you see my screen? All good, perfect. Thank you very much. All right, so once again, thank you and hi and welcome to this new webinar of ours. If you don't measure, you cannot improve it. If you don't measure KPIs, you cannot improve it. Here we'll learn how to set smart KPIs for your accounts payable and accounts receivable teams. But before we'll do that, let us first introduce ourselves. I'll start with myself. Just a second. Some technical problems here. Okay. So I'll start with, sorry about that. It always happens like that. So I'll start with myself. My name is Alex Kesselman. I'm a solution engineer here at ProMax. I've been working with accounts payable teams around the globe for about 4 years now, allowing them to automate their accounts payable process with the right tools. I also have my co-host here, Charlotte, and I will let her introduce herself. Charlotte, the mic is yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte and I'm the product manager at Chaser. Chaser is Xero's highest rated accounts receivable partner, and we've been helping businesses recover $10 billion in late payments. And from our experience in helping businesses improve their accounts receivable process, I'll be sharing some advice on how to set KPIs effectively for your team.
Awesome, it's great to have you here. And let's talk about an agenda for today. So we have actually many things to discuss today, and hopefully we could squeeze it all in the time given. So we'll start with answering both 2 simple questions. Why do we need KPIs in the first place, and how to establish them? Then we'll talk about the KPIs you should be tracking, 3 from the AP side and 3 from the AR side, how to achieve them, and what tools might be right for you. At the end, we'll have a short product demo where we'll actually learn how to build those workflows, how to use the products, and right at the end, we'll have a Q&A section. However, feel free to ask any questions along the way, and our colleagues or ourselves will be able to answer them at the end of the session. All right, goals are set. Now it's time to move on, and let's start with the short poll. It's a very simple one. Just we want to know if you're already using some KPIs, if you already set some KPIs to track your AP or accounts receivable team process. So let us know if you already done that. So let me start the poll. All right, you should be able to see the poll. So let us know what's your progress. And I'll take a sip of water. Okay. I see that majority does not yet set any KPIs, which is great for the webinar, but hopefully afterwards you'll decide to start setting your KPIs. So we have a few more people left who's not yet voted. Let's wait for another 10-15 seconds just to make sure that everyone done that. Okay. So majority is answered, and the answers, you'll be surprised, mostly 75% that you have not set any KPIs yet. Let's see if we have some additional people. So 29 out of 36. Who is those last 7? 30, perfect, 31. 5 people left. All right, I think we can end the poll here. We had 32 out of 36, so 88% of people participated. And let me share the results with you. So as you can see, 72% have not yet set any KPIs for the neither accounts payable or accounts receivable teams. That is good. So let's move on from here because now we have an idea of what's going on. All right. So first of all, let's answer one simple question. Why do we need to set KPIs in the first place? Truth is, if there is no established KPIs, it becomes almost impossible to track efficiency of your business. Decisions are made based on the short term, objectives and results are sporadic. So rather than doing blind decisions, set your KPIs in a way that you can measure your efficiency and then optimize your performance. Once KPIs are set, link them to the high-level business goals, and that will give some transparency to your teams. It will allow build up a clear picture of personal involvement and understanding of what should be done in order to achieve those KPIs. Once we have an idea why do we need to set KPIs, our next question is, how would we track them? And to answer that, I will give a mic back to Charlotte. So Charlotte, over to you.
Thank you very much. So when it comes to KPIs, clear communication is key. It's really important that from the offset, all stakeholders understand and agree the KPIs and also how, as well as how often they'll be measured and reviewed. Tracking your KPIs can help you make adjustments and also stay on track. It's important to review what's going well and why, and also what's not going so well. Knowing and measuring your KPIs month over month, or even more frequently than that, will help you achieve results faster. It can help you analyze patterns in the data. This will allow you to tackle problems and also explore potential opportunities. There are various ways that you can track your KPIs, and it's best to find an approach that works well for all stakeholders. A few ideas on how you can track your KPIs are by creating a dashboard that's regularly updated. If this can be automated, even better, it's less work for you. Dashboards can be a really good way of visualizing your data. You may decide to share a weekly report via Slack, email, or any other communication tool that you use. This can be a really effective way of making sure that everyone's up to date and also helping to motivate your team when working towards a specific KPI. You may also decide to share progress within meetings on a weekly or monthly basis. And this is a really good way of encouraging discussion around KPIs and helping to make sure that everyone's engaged and focused on what's most important. Whichever approach you take, it's important to remember that KPIs are more than just numbers. They're there to guide you to drive your business in the right direction. I'll now hand over to Alex, who will talk about 3 KPIs that you should be tracking in your accounts payable team.
Thank you, Charlotte. So, all right, now we're coming to the main part where we'll actually learn some details on how to measure those things. And let's start with a very simple form. Accounts payable process basically consists out of 3 main components: receiving and processing an invoice. Then we're going to approving this invoice, and once it's approved, we need to make a payment to our supplier. So in order for us to set KPIs, we need to shrink those components into pieces and see where are the bottlenecks. And the first bottleneck for us would be is how to actually process an invoice. You'd be surprised how much time people spend on processing a single invoice, entering that into the system, and then making an approval. So receiving an invoice upon delivery of goods, this is the ball on the supplier side. There is not much we can do about it. However, once we received an invoice already, we need to process that, we need to put that in the system, and then we need to approve that. And that's where all the problems actually appears. So many companies out there, actually, they use manual data entry and paper or email-based approval systems. And for organizations with manual accounts payable process, it might take up to 25 days in order to approve a single document. I will later on share you some of the data about how much time some companies are spending on those, and you'd see what is the best and what is the average industries. But in any case, 25 days to process just a single invoice is just way too much. So in order for us to measure and set KPIs for that, we'll need to take a date and time when we received an invoice, when we actually approved that. Then we'll need to deduct the date and time of the invoice that when it was received. Then we'll divide it by the numbers of an invoice per month, and we'll have an average time for approval of just one single invoice. So once we have an idea how much time we spent on processing a single invoice, then it's better to start adding some of those additional tools. Starting from the data capture tools like OCRs, maybe Dext, HubDoc, Auto Entry, or Data Molino. And actually, I would recommend to try all of them at the same time and see which one will work better for you. It will reduce the time on bringing data on board. Once we have that, we need to think about the next point of this, so on approving side. So rather than using paper or email-based approval system where you will need to keep track on everything what's going on, you would need to send multiple notifications and just know where each document should go to, create a multi-step and multi-tiered workflow where automatic machine will actually do this routine work for you. So you have a shared responsibility across the team. You will eliminate some of those human interventions and all of those human routine works onto machine. So it will be just much, much easier. And then once you'll give it a try, once you try different tools that there is on the market, you can easily compare what you had previously, what you have now, and just compare how much money you spend on those tools and how much money you spend if you're doing that manually. You'll be surprised. All right, so that's on the first tip. On the second tip, it's when we're talking about the approving an invoice. It might sound a bit strange because we just previously were talking about the approving, but it's actually a bit different. So once we've approved and once we've corroborated all the details on an invoice, we need to make a payment to our supplier. And here is when the new problems, new bottlenecks appears. I will later on show you the case study with one of our partners to show you what exactly I mean. But for us, at the moment, to understand how to calculate such KPI, basically, we need to take date and time of each invoice when it was paid, deduct date and time of an invoice when it was received, and divide it by the number of invoices per month. So just to emphasize of the importance of this KPI, let's take a look on one of our case studies. This one came with our partner, Lucent Advisory. So to deliver their services in the best possible way, Lucent Advisory selected Xero as their anchor accounting system. Clients forwarded their invoices straight into the Lucent Advisory, who used an OCR tool to digitize their invoice and then push them to Xero. However, it soon became a problem. Workflow was flawed. The main issue here was that supplier invoice got stuck in client inboxes and there was no clear way for everyone to understand what they need to do. So missed, duplicate, delayed, and authorized payments were actually very too common. So clients were overwhelmed with all of those emails sitting in their mailbox. Payments were often delayed, and Lucent Advisor decided that they need to change things in their process. So then they came to us, to ProMax. They decided to implement approval system, and they've sort of changed some of the parameters in this formula. So what actually have happened starting from then? Once an invoice was sent to the Lucent Advisory, who will take care of data digitization and storing. Once they'll digitize everything, they will send that automatically into awaiting approval status in Xero, and ApprovalMax will pull this data into the system. Then this document, taking a look on the workflow that we've created, will be automatically routed to correct person, and this person will receive an email and push notification. So then bills are also automatically routed to the respective approver and on the client side. Once they'll collect all the decisions, and you can easily track down the progress per each of your invoice, then automatically it will be sent into a waiting payment state and marked as ready for payment for the Lucent Advisory. So rather than making this process days, they reduced the time just to hours. So here is some of the data that we've gathered from our customers who came to us before they implemented the system. Well, there are some extremes, like 14 days, for example, companies who was approving things 14 days. And actually later on, I will show you even more extreme example. But the industry average would be about 9 days to approve just a single document without any automation tools. Adding an automation processing tools We'll eliminate some of those human interventions, human errors, and just take all of this routine from you. And in the best case scenario, it might take up to 2-3 hours to approve a single document. And that leads us to the next KPI of ours, which is the cost to process a single invoice. You'd be surprised how much money it might cost to process just a single invoice. Processing invoice is a lot of parameters inside. So you need to factor labor cost and some of those outright costs like printing, storage, and so on, postal mail. So first of all, let's talk about the formula itself. Divide the cost into labor cost and into outright costs. For the labor cost, simply survey your AP team on how much time do they spend per processing of single invoice. Multiply that by the hourly rate, how much money they actually earn through the hour. Then what we need to do is to take the outright costs. That might be everything starting from the storing data, it might be printing, paper, cutting checks, follow-ups, PO matching, whatever you can think of, all of those outright costs, we need to add them up into the labor costs. So then we'll need to divide that number on the invoices that we receive per month. And we'll receive a cost on how much money we actually spend on a single invoice. And here I want to give you one very extreme example that actually happened with us about a year ago. One of our customers, South African partner, who is managing farms across the continent. So they have about 20 farms and 400 people involved in the approval process. And typically for them, it took about 2 weeks just to process a single invoice. Imagine if you went to the grocery store and you need to buy bread and milk and you spend in line 2 weeks just to buy them. So that is actually exactly what happened with this particular partner. A farmer on the farm, they need to purchase something. So they cannot do anything on the farm itself. So they would wait until the end of the day. They will go home and from their laptop, they would raise the request. They will send it to their team and go back to work in the morning. The team will see what they need to approve. They might find a mistake. They will send it back to the farmer. So it takes a lot of time. It's very not efficient. So there is no transparency for everyone from the team. Things are going back and forward, and it takes days and weeks just to process a single thing. Once they came to us, they've implemented a very complex matrix. It actually consists out of 30 approval steps. So each person from the team, all 400 people, were mapped out into different directions. So then once a farmer wants to purchase something, they will take out the mobile phone, they will raise the purchase order straight on the go on the farm, they would send it straight away, they will submit their purchase order, and the person who is in charge for that PO, for that particular request, he will instantly receive a push notification, see if all the details are correct. If not, they can send it back straight away and make a comment. So farmer will make change on the go straight away. Then it will go through the specific path that we've created based on the rules, maybe based on the amount thresholds, based on the supplier name, based on the accounts, and so on and so on. So the time reduced from 2 weeks just to about 3 to 5 hours. And cost, we've actually calculated that. The cost per single invoice was $25 per single invoice, and it was reduced to $1.35. So farmers were doing things on the go. There is no email clutter. Time reduced from 2 weeks to just 3 to 5 hours to approve a single document, and the cost reduced from $25 to $1.35 per document. So that is on the KPI side, and how do we actually build those tools. So now I want to hand over that to Charlotte to talk about the AR KPIs, things that we're going to discuss on the account receivable side. So Charlotte, mic is on your side.
Thanks, Alex. Those are some really impressive results in the case studies. And I think it goes to show just how important KPIs are and how much of an impact they can really have on your business. I'll now take you through 3 KPIs that you should be tracking in your accounts receivable team. Onto the next slide, Alex.
Sure. Here we go.
Thank you. So firstly, you should be tracking your day sales outstanding. This may seem like an obvious one, but you'd actually be shocked at how many teams aren't tracking this. It's important to track the day sales outstanding month over month so that you can see how your team's performance and your debtor book is progressing over time. Your DSO measures how many days on average your customers take to pay their bills, and you can calculate it by dividing your total accounts receivable balance for a given period by your total sales, and then multiply this by the number of days in the period being measured. So for example, if your accounts receivable balance is $5,000 in a given month and your sales revenue for that month is $50,000, multiply this by the amount of days in the month, 30 in this case, then your day sales outstanding for that month is then 3. By tracking your DSO, you can identify any potential issues with your accounts receivable process and then also take corrective action before it becomes a bigger problem. If your DSO are high or climbing month over month, you can try implementing accounts receivable management best practices or an AR management software like Chaser to help reduce them. On to the next slide. So one of our partners, SaaS accountants, were actually able to reduce their clients' day sales outstanding by 75%. SaaS helped their clients in the medical machinery engineering sector to reduce their debts over the course of 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. Their average day sales outstanding went down from 90 to just 30. Although many of their clients were NHS businesses, which were clearly struggling at the time, SaaS accountants helped their client implement a more proactive follow-up approach on late payments, whilst allowing them to also keep the human touch in their invoice chasing and help them remain sensitive to the issues faced by their clients' customers within the Chaser software. Due to them getting the cash in sooner, their receipt turnover improved, and they could therefore produce more machinery and increase their sales throughout the year. The measurement of this astonishing 75% reduction achieved for their clients would never have been possible if they weren't proactively tracking this KPI month over month. And next slide. As demonstrated, DSO is an important KPI for your accounts receivable team. DSO results can actually be quite shocking, as shown in the research by SageWorks on how long some industries are actually waiting to get paid. For example, engineering, architectural, and many construction industry businesses are facing DSO of 65 days or more. But with the right processes in place, you can easily achieve reductions in your DSO. And after the webinar, we'll share templates, guides, and tips on how you can do this. Next slide. Similar to what Alex mentioned on the AP side, cost to process a single invoice, an important KPI to manage from the receivable side is the cost to get a single invoice paid, or operational cost per collection. You can measure this by adding your monthly labor costs, so time spent on invoice follow-ups multiplied by hourly labor costs, plus your monthly outright costs, so things like your email provider, tracking and invoicing software, and also phone fees, and then divide this by the number of invoices paid per month. This KPI considers your team's execution and capacity rather than just your receivables alone. This can help optimize your team's efficiency by helping you decide when to escalate a certain late payments to external debt recovery if your cost per collection is high, where automation can help your team maximize their efficiency, and also how you can make better use of resources within your accounts receivable team. Next slide, Alex. On the topic of efficiency in collections, I wanted to mention a fashion wholesale business called Love Brands. Love Brands have a wide sales network and offer multi-channel goods across wholesale, franchise, and retail concessions. They used to have their collections process run by a large firm of external contractors. This was both expensive and inefficient, as contractors were manually following up on a high number of invoices with disjointed processes from the internal team. When Rosanna joined Love Brands as a credit control manager, she was able to completely streamline the accounts receivable process to just herself and one other employee in-house by implementing automation. This meant that Love Brands no longer had to hire a large team of external contractors, drastically reducing their operational cost per collection. It also increased efficiency by having all team members working on the same centralized system for accounts receivable. And next slide, Alex. So in our view, one of the largely underused accounts receivable KPIs is the number of revised invoices. For this one, there's no fancy calculation. It's simply just how many invoices your team needs to revise in a given period. If you're regularly revising a high number of invoices, this could be an indicator that you're experiencing human errors. For example, invoices may be missing relevant information, or you could be sending them to the wrong customer. Customers may be frequently disputing their invoices, or the invoices themselves may just be unclear. A high number of revised invoices often means confusion, poor customer experience, delayed payments, and inefficiency. This could be an indication that you need to improve your invoicing process and ensure that you're invoicing correctly. On to the next slide, Alex. In order to make improvements, you should start by keeping track of the disputes and queries that are raised and update your accounts receivable process to address these issues from in your payment reminder process. For example, if you find that customers are asking for additional information, review and ensure that you're giving people all details and necessary information. It's also important to make sure that payment details and the process to make a payment is clear so that your customers can make a payment quickly and easily as soon as the reminder hits their inbox. Attaching invoice copies to any invoice-related communications that you send out can also help reduce the amount of queries and disputes raised by customers. Utilizing a payment portal where your customers can easily access all payment details in one place can be extremely valuable. Making sure that your invoice reminders are reaching the right contact in the organization, and that you also have an escalation contact if the invoice remains unpaid for a long period, can also help. And I'd actually recommend making this information gathering part of your new customer onboarding or sales process. Depending on the number of invoices you issue, a high rate of revised invoices can be an indication that you should move from billing manually to an automated system with invoice creation. I'll now hand over to Alex, who will talk about tools that can help you achieve your accounts payable and accounts receivable KPIs.
Thank you, Charlotte. Actually, I thought that 2 weeks or 25 days to process a single invoice is outrageous. But when you're talking about 125 days to collect a payment, that sounds just crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a big problem, but yeah, there are definitely things you can do to improve it, which is great.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this. It's really, really interesting. All right, so let's talk on some of the tools that we might use to automate this process, and then we'll actually move on to the product demos. So one thing that you're probably already using, and by the way, let us know in the chat section which cloud accounting software you're using at the moment, if you're using any, Xero, QBO, or maybe any other tools that are on the market. Let us know. That will be very interesting to know. So once you have your cloud accounting system, you need to think about how we're going to process things. So start with the data capture tools. It doesn't really matter which one will work for you. It's better to give the try for all of them. They all have free trial, and HubDoc is a part of Xero, so it might be the great tool to take a look on. So play around with Dex, HubDoc, AutoEntry, or Data Molina, and see which one will work the best for you, for your own business. Then when it comes to approval automation, there's of course many tools on the market, but it's always better to select the best in class, of course. So ApprovalMax here is on the way. And then when it comes to collecting payments, there's Chaser, who will help you out with the account receivable part. So right after that, right after this slide, we'll talk about what these products actually means and how we can build these workflows and how we can operate them and how these tools might work your business. So let's move on to the actual product demo. And I'll start with just one slide with a short introduction to ApprovalMax, where we came from and what do we do. And ApprovalMax is an all-in-one place for your accounts payable process. So with multi-step and multi-tiered workflows, you can build up a simple or very complex process that will be transparent for all of your team members who is included into the accounts payable team. So ProMax was founded in 2016, around 6 years ago, and since that time we became quite a big part of both Xero and QBO ecosystems. If you'll take a look on the Xero marketplace, you find more than 200 plus 5-star rating reviews from the real customers who is using product on day-to-day basis. Actually, by the way, I see some of the names from the list of participants who is already our clients. So I'm happy to see you here on this webinar. I hope you'll learn something new and I hope you will enjoy the session. On the other side, so let's talk about some of the awards. In 2020, we became Xero Partner of the Year in New Zealand market. Then next year, we became Xero Partner of the Year once again in the UK market. And then in 2022, this year, we became a finalist for the same award. And we are very proud of these awards. So now let's move on to the actual demo and see that in action. Let me stop sharing screen real quick so I could open up the product itself. All right. So you should be able to see my screen. And first of all, I want to give a bit of a context the way it works. So once you'll start your free trial, once you'll connect your ProMax account to your accounting system, one very important thing will happen on the background. Via API, we will sync some of the important data like a list of your suppliers, your tracking categories, account codes, items that you're purchasing, currencies, and things like that. So with this data and with the users that we will add into the system, so these users who will be approving things, we can make a combination of those things and we can build up the workflow. So based on the different parameters, let's say on amount thresholds, or maybe based on the tracking category, we can build up a rule what each person can or cannot see, or can or cannot approve. So we can consider ApprovalMax as an add-on to our accounting solution, which will simply enhance the approval capabilities. So if I'll take a look on one of these workflows, let's start with the bill creation, review, and approval workflow. I've already been working on this one, so don't be confused. It might look a bit hard to understand what we see here, but I will explain in a second what everything means actually. So the first task for us would be to divide the screen into two parts, the left side and the right side. The left side, it's all about how we're going to streamline our bills into the system and how we're going to create them. So no matter which tool you're using as your data capture tools, Dext, HubDoc, Data Molina, or Auto Entry, simply digitize your invoice and put that into awaiting approval status in Xero. Once it's over there, ApprovalMax will automatically pull these documents into the system and run through your multi-step and multi-tier workflows. There is other ways, of course. You can create your bills manually in ApprovalMax if needed, maybe for some specific instances, and you can give permissions to some of your users to create those bills. And within the requesters matrix, we can provide specific values on what type of data they allow to use when they're raising those bills. Let's say Franz Kafka here, he can raise bills for any suppliers that I have, but only for department sales and only for these two GL codes, which makes perfect sense, especially for those team members who have no idea about accounts payable side, they have no idea about the account codes. So we can give only certain permissions. Then, once we decided on the ways how we're going to streamline or create our bills, we can move to the main part in our approval steps. So we can build up as many approval steps as we need to. There is no limitation on that. As I mentioned previously, I've seen examples, customers adding 30 approval steps. But for you, once you have a clear idea of where each invoice or purchase order should go to, build up your organizational chart here. So in my case, I have head of departments, I have my senior management, and I have my board approval steps. If I need to create some additional step, I'll simply click on the plus sign. It will create a new step. I can then drag it whenever I want to. Let's say this one will be a legal department. Add a new people here. So let's say this one will go to Jim and Kate without Marco Polo. And the next step for us would be to provide rules on what each person here can or cannot approve. And here in our approval matrix, we can see where these data from our Xero account being used, because each column here represents different data points. It might be that you want to build your workflow based on the amount thresholds. Maybe let's starting from the any amount and then narrowing it down to some specific values. Let's say head of departments will be approving from 0 to billion, then senior management will be approving everything that is over or equal to 10,000 pounds, just to make sure that the senior management will only be included in a way when they're actually needed. So maybe for the legal department, what I'll do, I'll add a rule that only if it's over or equal to 3,000 pounds and only for specific accounts. Let's say Jim will be approving everything that coming from the interest income and direct expenses, while Kate will be approving everything else except for these two. So I can create a rule account does not match and provide the same values here. So just like that, within a couple of seconds, we've created a new approval step with two people approving different things. And we can create more and more of those steps if needed. Like here, I have head of department, senior management, legal, and the board. Once done, activate your workflow and you're ready to go. Then, once we'll send invitations to our approvers, what they will see as an approvers will be a very simple form. So once you log into your account, the first screen that you will see, it calls requires my decision. And that is actually a very important screen. Reason why it is so important, because if you're working with multi-entity environment, or maybe you're approving things on behalf of different workflows, different companies, and it's sometimes getting really hard to understand where you should go to and what you need to approve. So in ApprovalMax, the first screen that you see called requires my decision, and it gathers all of the decisions, all of the requests from all the companies and all the workflows. As you can see here, I have a bill from DGI for Highlands Foundation, have bill from ApprovalMax for Kafkaesque accounting, have bill from Emily Thomas for ApprovalMax test org. So all of those things are just within one screen. On the right side, I would see the actual bill with all of the necessary details. So starting from the total amounts, then going into the line items, I can straight away see what I need to approve, and I can make my decision on the go by clicking on approve, or I can reject this bill. Then if I have any attachments, I'll be able to see them either in side-by-side view or in full screen, just to make sure that I'm approving the correct thing. And these attachments are coming from your OCR tool, or simply if you'll add them into your Xero account. Then, if you're using budgeting, if you're using Xero Budget Manager, you will be able to pull those budgets from your Xero account into your ProMax account and compare in real time your budgets against the bills and purchase orders you're approving at the moment. Like in my case, this bill from DGI is coded for the product department for the account code entertainment. Therefore, I will see the budget only for that department and only for this account code. I can see what is my remaining budget, how much money I'm approving at the moment, and what is the status. If I need to dig into the numbers, I can easily click on the budget itself and see what was my overall budget, what is my remaining budget, how many bills and purchase orders I've already approved, and how many of them are on approval. Same goes for month-by-month view, so we can easily track down and see what's actually going on and make our decisions on the go. If we're raising our purchase orders or if we're creating them in ApprovalMax, we'll be able to make even more robust spend control. So we can make your bill to purchase order matching. And it's not only one-to-one matching, but rather one-to-many, like one purchase order to many bills, or vice versa, many bills, one bill to many purchase orders. So in order for us to match a purchase order, just simply click on this huge button, and we will show you the list of all the POs for that particular supplier that hasn't been marked as billed yet. Select which one you want to match with, click on done. Now it is matched against this purchase order. We can see that the bill amount does not exceed the amount of the purchase order. Everything is fine, so we can continue. Then here on the bottom, we can easily trace and track down the progress per each of our requests. We can see where exactly at the moment this request appears. So this one under head of department step, Marco Polo needs to make his approval decision. Once he'll do that, it'll go to the next step under the legal department, and we'll wait for Peter and Mike to make their decision before it will go to the next step. For all the changes and all the comments that we are making for each and every request, they all be stored here under the audit trail. That is sort of like a history log for us. We can always see that someone made some certain changes or made a comment. And if we would like to collaborate with the team of our approvers, we can use the commenting box here in the bottom. like please approve ASAP. Once I'll send that, everyone from my team will receive an email notification showing what things I need to, what comment that I've made. And then they can either reply that by email, or they can just simply log into their account and do their work from here. Or they can use their mobile app, which is available for both iOS and Android. And you can do pretty much exactly the same thing as on a web app. You can raise your bills, you can approve them, you can make bill to purchase order matching, you can collaborate with your approvers, and so on and so on. So that is on a very general level, the way ApprovalMax works and how do we build our workflows. Now I want to hand over mic to Charlotte to show over what is Chaser, where they came from, and what the product is capable of. So let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm handing over to Charlotte.
Brilliant, thank you. Are you okay just to share the Chaser slide, Alex? And I'll quickly do an introduction to Chaser, and then I'll move on to the demo.
Absolutely. Just a second. Let me open this up. Let me know if you can see the screen.
Yeah, got it. Thank you very much. So Chaser is an end-to-end accounts receivable automation software and also credit control services provider. We're Xero's highest rated accounts receivable partner. We've got over 360 reviews, a perfect 5 stars. We've helped businesses around the world recover $10 billion in late payments. And today I'll be talking you through the key features shortly, but at a high level, Chaser lets users credit check, monitor debtors, chase late invoices via email and SMS, collect payments, recover debt and reconcile accounts, all in the same unique platform, seamlessly connected to your accounting system. We were recently awarded B2B Supplier of the Year at the Chartered Institute of Credit Management Awards 2022. And this was for allowing credit teams across the world to automate their processes without losing the human touch with their customers. And this is due to the deep personalization features that we have available within the application. I'll now take over the screen share if that's okay, Alex, and start the demo of Chaser. Thank you. Let me know if you can see Chaser now.
Yes, we do.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So firstly, I just wanted to show you Chaser's payment portal. So Chaser's payment portal allows customers to review all of their outstanding and also paid invoices, all within one place. You can add your payment details and also connect a Stripe account so that customers can easily make payments for any invoice. Customers are more likely to pay quicker if the payment process is clear and simple, which is why the payment portal is available. I also wanted to just show the templates within Chaser. So this is where you can make automatic and personalized reminders for every scenario via email and also SMS. Within the templates, you can add intelligent placeholders which pull information straight from your accounting system data. It's worth noting that when you send SMS and email, you can also include a link to the payment portal, which I just showed, so that your customers can make instant payments. Another key section within Chaser is the schedules. And this is where you can set up automated schedules for various customers so that the reminders are sent automatically before, after the email is due. And you can also send thanks for paying emails as well. By proactively following up with polite personalized messages with minimal effort, Chaser users are able to dramatically reduce their DSO. For example, our users at DocuFlow, a document management service, are now getting paid 54 days faster. Within Chaser, we also have the accounts receivable CRM. And this is where you can see the full communication history for every customer and also every invoice. You can set and adjust credit limits for customers. And then also select amounts and intervals for payment plans all within one place. This is so much easier than tracking these elements in a spreadsheet or using multiple disjointed systems. Chaser works based on real-time data in your accounting system. It updates every hour before payment reminders are sent, or on demand if you click the Sync Now button. This means there's no backwards and forwards between your accounting software, as Chaser is always the most up to date with all the information. And that makes sure that no customers are contacted about invoices that have already been paid. By automating and streamlining your accounts receivable process in this way, users like Love Brands are saving 15 hours per week, significantly reducing their operational cost per collection. Within the Chaser app, it's also possible to credit check your customers. And it's good to be able to do this in the same system as well, and it can help you to better protect your business from bad payers and more accurately set credit limits for your customers. And lastly, when necessary, you can also escalate invoices to Chaser's friendly collections team from within the software. You can click to view an instant no win, no fee quote up front. And when an invoice has been handed over to our collections team, you can easily observe all communications that the collections teams have had with your customer from within the Chaser's receivable CRM. Utilising the collection service has helped users like Hutty Group recover £15,000 of debt that would otherwise have been written off. Earlier in the presentation, I discussed the importance of day sales outstanding. We're going to be building these calculations into Chaser so that it saves you the hassle of having to calculate these yourself. You'll be able to see the DSO for each customer from within the receivable CRM. And then also we'll be adding some reports so that you can see how your DSO is trending over time within the reporting section as well. There is a lot more that you can explore within Chaser, but I just wanted to keep this brief for today. So I'll hand back over to Alex to start the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. I love the way it looks. It's very, very clean. I am the person who loves clean software, and this one is definitely one of those.
Thank you. That's great to hear.
All right, so let's come back to the last slide of us. So I hope today's webinar was giving you some additional insights on how to set the KPIs and what tools you might be using. If you want to give it a try, both ProMax and Chaser have 14 days free trial, so make sure to register on our websites. And we're coming to the last part for today, which is the Q&A section. So let us know about your questions. We'll be happy to answer all of them. So let's see. I see there was one question let's start. One question came for Chaser. So Kim is asking, Charlotte, is credit check available for Australian customers?
Hi, Kim. So unfortunately, currently, credit checking isn't available. It's only available for UK customers, but it might be something that we'll look into in the future if you're interested.
Sandra is asking, can we automate the KPI reporting in ApprovalMax? That's a good question. It is actually possible. You can build up the report based on different parameters. It might be on the date and time when you actually paid and received an invoice. So you will be able to see who are we waiting for and how long the decision took per each of your invoice and see if someone is actually not doing their work. And you can schedule those reports. So they'll be automatically sent to your mailbox maybe once a day or maybe once a week. You can decide on the time when you want to receive such report. So that is absolutely possible. There is a included reporting functionality within the ProMax. I hope that answers the question.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alex. Another one here for ApprovalMax as well. So can ApprovalMax be used as a standalone app?
That's the great question. Yes, though we consider ApprovalMax as an add-on to our accounting software, but we actually do have a standalone solution for pretty much any other approval process that you might have. Everything that is not connected to accounting software, you can build up using our standalone solution. So we've seen examples, some of our customers using standalone workflows for HR process, let's say, or for travel reimbursements, or some of them are using for sales quotes or maybe contract creation. So you can build up as many standalone workflows as needed for each of your approval process and invite as many users as needed, since we do not charge you by the amount of users. So you can pretty much build up the whole team within just one product. I hope that answers the question. Let me see if there is any additional questions we have. George asking, do you know any good visualization tools to track KPIs? That's a good question.
I've previously always created my own dashboards, so I've never actually used a software for it, but I'm sure there must be some really good ones out there. If anyone's using any that they'd like to recommend, please drop them in the chat. It'd be great to hear.
Yeah, we've been using Power BI in some of my previous companies, and it works perfectly fine, though you'll need to spend some time to configure those first. It's quite hard to configure, but once done, it is a great tool to measure KPIs and see key performance indicator per each of your business units. So that might be one great tool for you to visualize your data. Let's see what else we have there. Charlotte, there's a question for you from Matthew. For Chaser, is debt collection and payment portal available in Singapore?
Thank you for the question. So debt collection is not currently available in Singapore, but the payment portal is available. So feel free to take advantage of that within Chaser.
I see in chat, how easy is the setup of ApprovalMax? How long does it take? Well, that's, I'd say, philosophical question, because, well, that's very depends on your organizational structure and time you're willing to spend on building up the workflow. There is one trick for you. If you don't want to do that yourself, or you'll need help from our side, we have a special package called Setup and Training Package, which will allow you to hand over tasks to build up those workflows to our team, which will build the workflow for you. They will provide you with a tailored demo and to make sure that everyone knows how to use the software. That is one way. But on the other hand, ApprovalMax is actually a very, very straightforward piece of software. When I joined the company, we were only around 15 or 20 people in company, and we just simply had no capacity to show the technical demos. Therefore, we always wanted to make a product as simple and as straightforward as possible, so even non-tech savvy person can understand how to build those workflows. And we actually, I believe we made quite a good job with that. We have a lot of resources to help you out. We have our guides for administrators, requesters, and approvers. We have our technical support team available 24 hours, 5 days a week. We have our YouTube channels on step-by-step instructions, weekly webinars on how to build the workflow. So there's many resources that might help you with the building the workflow. I'd say in best case scenario, well, when our team is involved, we usually build up the workflows within a couple of hours, but maybe it might take maybe a day just to understand all the different pieces. So it's very easy. It's just a matter of how much time you have and how much effort you're willing to bring in order to build those workflows. I believe some of the customers who is today on our session might share their experience with ApprovalMax. How much time does it took for them to build those workflows? So I hope that answers the question. But I would actually highly recommend to give a try both ApprovalMax and Chaser and see how easy to set up those workflows, how easy to use this piece of software, and let us know your feedback. That would be the best possible way, since there is a 14 days free trial. All right. Is there any last questions before we'll kick out? Sandra Hill. We use ApprovalMax and found it very helpful. We have complex DFAs, but managed to make them work well. Thank you very much, Sandra. I'm happy to hear positive feedback from you. Rishi is asking, are these softwares compatible with my OP account, right? On ApprovalMax side, no, we do not. We're working only with Xero and QuickBooks Online, our next integration is on the go, but this one will be with NetSuite. So that's a little spoiler for you. Charlotte, do you have anything to add from your side?
Yeah, so from a Chaser perspective, we are compatible with MYOB. We have recently added quite a few additional integrations as well. So please take a look at our website if you are interested but aren't sure whether we do support it. If you go onto our website and you don't see your integration within the list, get in touch with us. We do also have a CSV option, and we're constantly building additional integrations. So please let us know if you're interested, and it's not something we support because we may be looking into it in the future.
Sandra is asking, I believe this one is for us, for ProMax. Will you have a demo for the advanced workflows where you can design your own workflows? You mean about the standalone workflows? Let me know if that's the case. Yes, so for standalone workflows. I believe the best way to do that, perhaps if you could drop us a line either to our sales team or to the support team, and we can jump on the one-to-one meeting with you so I could show you the way standalone workflows works, just to make sure that everyone who is on the webinar with us today, they won't be wasting time just on some additional things. But you can always drop us a line and we'll be happy to assist in any case. Is that fine with you, Sandra? Sure. Thank you very much. All right. Any last questions before we'll jump off? All right. Seems like there is no more questions. Let me stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. I hope that was useful. Let us know, drop us a line and tell us your feedback. I hope to see you, one of our happy customers, both on ProMax and Chaser. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day and bye-bye.
Thank you very much.